Hey, what's happening, Wellington? It's Matt Lund here up on Mount Victoria overlooking Wellington City. If you've never come to the lookout before, I suggest you get out here and check out the view. It's absolutely awesome. For those of you tuning in for the first time, each week we aim to bring you a definitive guide of what to do and where to do it in Wellington City, whether it's music, theatre, or anything else happening within the community. On today's episode, as well as our weekly guides on music, theatre and community events, we'll be chatting with Danny Mulheron, who is appearing at Circuit Theatre's current production of Masterclass. But to kick things off, we're heading to the Wellington Comedy Club, which is a weekly event at the San Francisco Bathhouse. Hey there, we're inside the San Francisco Bathhouse speaking with Stephen Wrigley, who is a performer at the Wellington Comedy Club. Steve, thank you very much for having us.
No problem, thanks for coming.
It's quite all right. Steve, could you tell us a little bit of history about the Wellington Comedy Club?
Well, it started back in maybe the 1997, 98, and it was actually when this place was still called Indigo. And it was just the Indigo Comedy Wednesday, and it happened once a month, and then it gradually went to once a fortnight, and then eventually got to weekly and got shifted to Thursday, and it was about 2 or 3 years ago that the name changed to the Wellington Comedy Club because of the various name changes that this place has gone through. So, and it's the Comedy Club in Wellington, so there's no confusingness for anyone. Yep. That's why we have candles. It's gothic, you know. Don't confuse gothic with emo because everything gets a bit stabby.
And how have the responses been for the comedy club? Are you noticing it's getting sort of a lot stronger attention from the public?
If it's a beautiful night outside, especially there's a balcony here and everything, and if it's a beautiful evening outside and the acts are on are particularly good and the word is good, then sometimes there can be upward of 150, 200 people in here. And this year, Canadian Club have finally we've got someone behind the club who are flying acts down from Auckland and from all over the country between Wellington and between those other places around the North Island. We always have a big name, a big act of some kind to entertain the crowd and make sure people go home happy. But don't waste your time with video calling, because this is every single video call I've ever had in the last 3 months that I've had video calling has gone like this. Hey man, check it out, look, you can see me, I can see, oh my god, this is where I am. Okay, this is expensive, I'll text you.
And so who are the sort of the big names in New Zealand comedy at the moment that are drawing a lot of crowds?
Well, the biggest right now is probably Di Henwood, he's one of the first New Zealand comedians to get a TV show purely off the bat of being a comedian. It's the first time someone has been discovered in a comedy club. A TV producer went to see him at a comedy club in Auckland and loved what he saw and gave him a job on TV the next day. And I think he's just been in TV Guide as one of the 5 funniest guys on TV. So he's probably up there with the biggest. And then, I mean, this is where the Flight of the Conchords started out. Was they tested a lot of their material out here at the Wellington Comedy Club. So there is a lot of history here for comedy in New Zealand particularly. You know, which clearly shows that none of you are Dutch because there's no efficiency with regard to time. Were you Dutch, you would have been here at 8 o'clock going, why is the show not started? Und why am I German?
Awesome. So how easy is it to sort of break into the comedy scene? Are you doing sort of amateur nights? How can people go about sort of getting on stage and telling a few?
It's about as easy as it can be, really. It's just sort of every Thursday night there's always a 5-minute slot set aside, which is like a tryout sort of slot where you can come along with 5 minutes of your own jokes and your own material and try it out. I mean, some of it is trying to find out if you're right for comedy, and a lot of it's trying to find out if comedy is right for you. A lot of people don't really know whether it's what they want to do until they get up here, and if people are interested, they can just get in touch with the Bathhouse or the Wellington Comedy Club and let us know, and we'll throw them on. So while I was in the same part of the States, right, things just kind of proceeded to get weirder and weirder and weirder. I was watching this TV show called Know Your Spouse later on in the evening, which is a game show, right? And on the show, you have to answer questions about your husband or wife, and the more you know about the person you're married to, the more shit you win for your trailer, right? And they had this woman on called Chantel, and she was answering questions about her husband, Bill. And the host was this big, cheesy American guy. I was like, okay, Chantel, question number 1. What is your husband's favorite condiment? Your husband's favorite condiment. Take your time, Chantel. And she did. She thought about it good and hard. And then Chantel looked at the host and said, well, I don't reckon I know what a condiment is. But if I was going to hazard a guess, I think I would say my husband's favorite condiment is karate. And the host looked down at his cue card and went, "Yep, that's what he said." You've won a television. Congratulations.
So to sum up, where, when, and how much is it going to cost people to see some great comedy?
Well, it's comedy. There's comedy all over Wellington. But if you want to come here, it's the San Francisco Bathhouse Wellington Comedy Club. It's Thursday night. It's $10 on the door. The doors open at about 7:30. The show usually starts between 8 and 8:30. I'd suggest getting here at about sort of just before 8 to get a good seat. And that's it. And come out regardless of the weather.
Thanks very much for that, Steve. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight.